Time to be fruitful. When all else fails, sow a seed, pray on it, and let the Lord do what he does best. Allow you to be fruitful. All right, excited to be back for another episode of GIFTpreneur, episode 9. It has been over a year, well over a year. And so a lot has changed in the last year, for myself as well as a lot of other people as well. And just to be quite frank and honest, the entire world has been going through some changes. And of course, you know what I'm talking about. It's the current global health situation that we are all facing in one capacity or another. But it's been long overdue for me to check in and share with you some of the wisdom I believe the Lord has imparted unto me over this time frame. And so as I'm recording this, I'm looking at the screen here, actually the YouTube version, and the little slogan of the GIFTpreneur concept is work your gift or someone will work you. And so today's episode has to do with a time to be fruitful. And so, of course, along with this current health situation has come a lot of negative side effects to the global economy. And so I remember from our last episode, I was more so focusing on the energy factor, asking yourself the most important question: what works best from within you that you could actually put out into the world? And of course, for those that might be new, I would encourage you to check out the previous episodes because they're all building up to something I believe that will be very beneficial for a lot of people, especially in this current season and day and age. And so the time to be fruitful. What does that mean? That's a biblical reference that I'm going to touch on today, lay out some things, the what, why, and the how as to why I believe this current principle will be very valuable to those that are able to grab a hold of it. And so ultimately, just to start off simply, over the last year plus, due to the current circumstances the world faces, everybody's lives, for the most part, has been turned upside down or inside out, depending on where you're at and who and how it's impacted you. Here in the U.S. in particular, there's been a division, ultimately, of workers or employees that are labeled as essential, and then those that are labeled as non-essential. And so just the fact that there has been a categorization of how people are perceived when they share or they serve or they give their time and skills and talents to the world has led to a eye-opening for myself as well as a lot of other people, I'm sure, because you, the individual, were told whether you were important to be able to participate in the economy, or whatever it is you do or did is not considered essential, and so you must stay home, i.e. lockdown or work from home, or however that has played out. And so having been turned inside out, upside down, everyone has basically been, they've been shown the true nature of employment as well as even entrepreneurship, because the small businesses have been shut down, and a lot of restaurants and a lot of unfortunate events have occurred in the employment and entrepreneurship sector. But then on top of that, a lot of good things have come from that, and we're going to definitely dive into that further. But let me stop ranting and get into the nitty gritty of what I want to touch on. So as I keep mentioning, people's lives have been turned inside out, upside down in some capacity. But yet on the surface, it can be a bad thing. But I personally believe, and what I'm going to talk about today, are the benefits of having your world turned upside down and turned inside out, because God always has a way of using these type of events to really bring out the best in his children. And so for those that are tuning in, if you are a child of the King himself, then this is going to be a definite great opportunity for you to really tap into your gifting and get ready to try to figure out a more in-depth approach towards what I believe we're all called to do, which is to be fruitful. And so a lot of people have been unemployed, not employed as much, or they've been told they're not essential, and they've been told that their job is not as important as the next man. So it's caused a lot of people to rethink some things and also the government response and the fact that a lot of people have been able to receive compensation minus the work side of things, which is setting up people for failure because it's further allowing people to depend upon a single source, i.e. the government, rather than the King himself. That's Jesus Christ, our God himself. And so that's going to cause a lot of problems in the day ahead. But yet the main push now, a year and a month or so later, is the idea of getting people back to work. So you have states around the country that's, dialing back on those unemployment and benefits and stuff like that. So there's a lot of chit chatter in the political sphere as to how the government did a little bit too much by offering more currency than people actually made on a day-to-day basis, which has caused a complete, I think, shattering of the employment concept right now, because a lot of people realize that they ultimately don't really want to work. They more so just want the results of work minus putting in the time, the skill, the effort, and everything else. And so I think along with that, there's a lot of pros and cons to that or whatever. A lot of people are in different positions and different situations, but ultimately what it's done, it's exposed the fact that a lot of people, especially in the service sector, restaurant workers and non-skilled labor individuals, it's really caused a lot of people to think, what exactly am I doing? What exactly am I working for? When I've been told I am essential, I'm not essential, and then my employer, is now going to start throwing out some mandates of things I have to do even though I don't want to. And so a lot of people are now, I'm assuming, rethinking the whole employment concept and paradigm because of them being categorized, and now coming to the realization that ultimately the whole idea of working, the way that we've been sold it, is to literally sell your skill and time, more than likely for a paycheck to pay your bills, but yet you're always going to have and need more of those currency units to actually just maintain yourself. So a lot of people are not excited to go back to work. And so there's going to be an issue with that because they're having to increase the compensation now. And so the push for, fight for 15 is back. And of course, you got some McDonald's and certain restaurants are now giving people $18, $19. And it's still not enough really to get people back into the work field, because a lot of people are not doing things that they were born to do. They're not doing things that they are called to do. They're not doing things that allows them to feel fulfillment, that they're actually contributing to something other than just them going for a single paycheck. And so this current year and this current decade is going to be a complete reshifting of the employment and labor concept. And I've talked about a lot of reasons why in prior episodes. I encourage you to check those out. But what does this all point out to is people lack purpose and passion when it comes to their contribution to humanity, contribution to society. And so what that's going to do is it's going to cause people, and this is a benefit behind all of this, is that people are now going to be forced to really consider, what exactly am I doing? Why am I doing it? And what is it for? Because the mere idea of getting compensated for your time and skill, when you have already been, when we've been shown that more than likely what we contribute is not necessarily towards something greater other than just the revenue and the overall, financial ordeal for the company or whatnot. People want more. And right now, in my personal opinion, this is the best time, probably definitely in modern history, to pursue something outside of the employment realm in and of itself. Because for those that are able to receive some type of unemployment or compensation or work from home, or your life has been shifted a little bit, and that's a beneficial thing for you to take advantage of. Something is worthwhile for you to take advantage of that, because now you may have a little bit more time to work from home, which gives you a chance to also set aside some time to focus on something that's more near and dear to your heart. And then if you're not employed and you're able to receive some of the compensation from the government in the short interim time, then of course you could probably take some of those proceeds and put it towards something that can allow you to tap into whatever it is you're purposed and passionate for. So ultimately, the government can be subsidizing those individuals to help them pursue their gifting, to pursue an alternative pathway towards their contribution to humanity. And so the whole idea is that unemployment it has created a window of opportunity for people to really consider what it is they want to contribute to. And this is where it gets into the idea of time to be fruitful, time to take this current restructuring of the employment paradigm and the possible available time that you have to put it towards something that could benefit you. And so that's what I want to touch into a little bit more. I got some notes in front of me here I'm trying to just glance at because I kind of wrote down what I wanted to cover so I can try to stay on track as best I can. So ultimately what this boils down to, it's time to reconsider the big picture. How and what can I contribute in this current time frame of your life, of my life? These are all things that I myself am thinking about. And so I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not the only one. There's other people out there that are also probably reconsidering or rethinking or trying to better understand some things, because we all ultimately seek fulfillment and meaning with what we do with our time, our energy, our efforts, you name it, our skill sets. And so really for me personally over the last year, I'll share a little bit of my pathway, my journey to this point to where I felt it was very important for me to get back on this mic and to, further encourage other people, just because I have, for the most part, been my own sense of, or my, amongst other things, wherever, my own sense of encouragement reminded me that, there's always something greater than just what I have been doing, what I'm currently doing, and what I'm called to do. And so how and what can I contribute has been my focus over the last year, given the fact that, as I mentioned, everybody's going through some things. And so I've been involved in a lot of different projects, had to adjust some things, dial back for some things, maneuver around some things. And it really led me to really, begin trying to assess, how can I take this current experience and turn it into something very beneficial? And so from that in of itself, according to my area of gifting, that from what I've been, shown and what has been revealed to me at this current moment in my life, is that, my creative ability to continue to find ways of adding value has really increased with all the opportunity that's come in different things that I wasn't even aware, and all the things that I'm excited to begin working on. And of course the podcast, doing it more frequently is one of them, because I think we're all on this journey together. And I think we all can benefit from little nuggets here and there. But what it boils down to when it comes to being fruitful, employment is changing. More people have time now to really think beyond their job like never before. And of course, the whole concept of finding your unique gifting is the ultimate pathway to fulfillment. For multiple reasons. Because it's biblical in nature. God created everybody to contribute to something, and ultimately it boils back down to further expanding his kingdom here on the earth. And of course he gives us how to do it. Jesus lays out a very clear and cut pathway in the Gospels. In particular, I think starts with Matthew 4 and beyond. But yet when it comes time to ultimate fulfillment, there's no other way of fulfillment other than your contribution through your gifting. And this whole year, this past year plus, has really revealed that to me. And I'd imagine a lot of people can relate to this, but you may not have been able to pinpoint it exactly to this exact way and the method that I'm using, calling it your gift. But yet everybody know whatever's probably tugged at your heart the most, whatever's gotten you the most excited over the last year or so, it happens to have been in relation to whatever it is that God has called you to do, or whatever unique area of influence that you might have, something that you're currently involved in now, or something that you plan on getting in towards. That has probably been somewhat of a lifeline for a lot of people over this last year plus, because it's something that you probably have always gone back to or happen to have wanted to get involved with over and over and over and over and over again. And that right there to me is a sign that that is something that you're probably supposed to be dipping your toe into at this current moment. And this past year might have been that awakening moment for you, because well before me getting back on the mic and recording this podcast here, there's been several times that I felt in my spirit that I was supposed to, get on a mic and share some nuggets, some spiritual nuggets or whatnot. And due to my own, circumstances and of course issues and problems and you name it, I drowned it out just on some Lord, not right now. I'll give it to, I'll get back in a minute. Let me, do this, do that. But for some reason, it always came back to your gift, my gift, because that is probably at this current moment one of the most exciting things that has my heart, that's tugging on my heart, and it's the idea of my gifting. We all have giftings, and outside of your pastor, your minister, not many people in your circle will be telling you or encouraging you and asking you those questions. Hey, you, what's your gift? What excites you? What do you want to do? How can you add value to other people's lives? Yada yada yada. It probably won't come in your normal circle. Just be honest, because I know for me that's not the case. So here we are now listening to this podcast, talking about your gifting, because this podcast is called GIFTpreneur. I believe we're all called to be giftpreneurs in this current day and age. Giftpreneurship, I think, can be a concept that can probably grow because people want more. People want purpose. People want meaning. People need a reason to open up their eyes, and they need something that just tugs at them and pulls them to where you just can't sleep. You can't get rid of it. And like I've had, those experiences, I'm sure we all have, where you're like a kid in a candy store at night, you can't sleep the night before because you're so excited to get up to give yourself, to become more of who you're meant to become by actually giving it away. Whatever it is that you're called to serve and called to do, it happens to be about your contribution in other people's lives. So what am I getting at, Mike? Your contribution, my contribution, how and the what happens, and this is just one of many avenues, but this is just what I was put on my heart this morning. It's, it boils down to what's your value added proposition. And I call it your VAP, your VAP, your value added proposition. And it all connects, and it'll make sense even more so in a minute. But what is your value added proposition? And this boils down to the very essence of the ingredients. This is the ingredients, I believe, of what's inside of your seed. And so, episode 7, seed, how to find your seed, was a very good episode, I think. Check it out. And it'll talk more in depth as to that seed concept. But your value added proposition is some of the ingredients inside of your seed. It's the inherent things that it basically, it's who you are as a person, like the traits, the good and the bad, that's all a part of your original design, your original software programming that God has put into you that allows you to actually become and express who you are as a person. And then once you take that uniqueness of who you are and you put it into some type of proposition for you to share with other people, that's when the value is usually delivered to someone. So your value added proposition, or your VAP, is what is it that's uniquely you that you can share with other people in a way where it produces a beneficial result or an outcome for that individual in the form of fruit. And so I want to refer to one of my favorite passages that's really been on my heart lately, that I can't get away from it. So this is kind of probably why I'm at the mic right now. And it happens to do with Genesis 1:28. And of course, this is in the beginning. And from that, a lot of the biblical principles throughout the entire book all boils back down to these concepts of be ye fruitful. And so with be ye fruitful, the Lord is basically, right here, he's basically giving mankind the mandate. And I'll read it in front of me right now. It's Genesis 1:28, and it says, God blessed them, and God said unto them, we know who them are, humane, main and one main. And he says, be fruitful. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to leave it at that. That's all that matters. That's all that matters for this podcast right now. Be fruitful. And of course, everything from that, plays into the greater picture of what our calling really is about. But be fruitful. And so what was really been on my heart lately, and this stems from a sermon I listened to from the great Miles Monroe. I've been listening to it frequently. But be fruitful. And so I've got my notes here in front of me. And so once again, you can't be fruitful unless something is sown. A seed is sown. Unless something is done, you can't get an outcome without first putting in some income. In a sense, you can't you can't get something out of it without putting something in. So all that, the in and outs, up and down, yin yang, all that stuff like that, there's opposites of everything. Same thing applies for here. You can't receive a fruit. I can't bite an apple unless somebody somewhere planted an apple seed and it grew and it was fruitful. And so what am I getting at? Your value added position is your opportunity to be fruitful. Take your uniqueness, take your core elements of who God has created you to be in some capacity. Something is attached to that. And that is the part where your uniqueness in cooperation with that area of uniqueness. And it usually boils down to a service, a skill, a hobby, or something that you are good at in regards to your time. So those 4 things there are just the core elements. And of course, prior episodes, I got into more deeper things. But those are ways of trying to figure out, hey, what am I currently involved in? What am I currently doing? What am I currently good at that nobody else might be good at that could allow me to add a beneficial result or an outcome to someone else's life that can allow them to reap or enjoy the fruit from my seed. And so be ye fruitful. This is a time to be fruitful because everyone now has been given a wake-up call, whether it be on the employment front, whether it be with your time, having more time, or whether it be with that tug in your heart from the Lord telling you that now is the time for you to really reconsider some things, think beyond some things, because everybody at some point is going to find out, like I mentioned in prior episodes, that your job was never intended to be your primary source of your sustenance. You know, we need to depend upon the Lord right now more than ever, because we've already been told, we've already been shown whether or not we are important, whether or not we're essential, whether or not we're not essential. And that's not enough. That's not enough to lure people back into the employment concept, no matter how much currency they offer. A lot of people is like, hey, why would I go back when I can take advantage of the government's opportunity to do this and buy more time? But the problem is they're not using that time wisely for the people who choose to do that. And then you have the more people who are skill based. They've never really left the job. They never skipped a beat. They doing fine. Even those individuals themselves, deep down inside, they know that there's something bigger and better that they're supposed to be a part of, because whatever it is they're currently doing now, if they are labeled as essential, then they're probably operating in their gift at that moment. Whether or not you're a manager of a department, your gift is probably leadership of some kind. You're probably a good manager of time and organize and all that stuff like that. So they've been able to continue with that because they can excel in that department there. Then you might have somebody who's an engineer. They're probably good at math and science. They're able to put numbers and formulas and stuff together, and they feel that moment of fulfillment when they finish a project and then they give it to their boss or their manager, or they create that product and the company say, hey, this is going to be the next game changer, and it's all done because of a man's idea that turned into a blueprint to a prototype to a released item. That right there is that person's gift. So that person, everybody gets fulfillment when something unique comes from you out of nowhere, whether it starts as an idea or just something the Lord put into your heart and you turn it into some notes on paper, and then it comes out of your mouth in the form of words, and it's received by at least one person in the audience. That creates a sense of fulfillment because you were just a conduit from an idea through your mouth into a mic into the world, and that provides a sense of fulfillment. Every single human being needs to have that on a daily basis, and that's what employment minus true meaning, passion, and purpose behind it, that's what it cannot provide. That's why it's up to you as an individual. That's why it's up to me as an individual to make sure that I personally consult with the King himself, the Lord Almighty, and really dive into his word, because through his word and his spirit, he definitely wants to get this type of stuff through you, because it's like I've said before in prior episodes, it's not about you. It's about the people who will reap the benefits from your fruit. That's what a lot of this is about today. So it is time to be fruitful, people. If you're listening to my voice, if you stuck around this long, then I would assume that it's probably tugging in your heart too, or you've probably been actively doing something about it. And cheers for you if you have been. Continue to do what you do. And so me personally, I'm excited to be back behind the microphone because it's been a minute. And like I mentioned before earlier, it's been tugging at my heart, and I've been disobedient just because I haven't been doing what I believe I'm instructed to do in regards to this platform here. And so with that being the case, I'm going to get ready to dial back. But this is not the end. This is just the beginning because along with being fruitful, it comes that in between time where it's the time and space where you get to really uncover more of who you are and what you are and how you're supposed to refine yourself. Because the whole idea of becoming a giftpreneur is to become yourself. Everybody, as I think I've said this before, everybody is a businessman or businesswoman. It's either you choose to sell your service, skill, time, energy, and whatever to a particular entity for all the corporate ladder benefits that we've talked about before. The typical pathway of you sell me your time now, put aside your funds, it'll grow over time, compound interest, and when you're 65, you can go enjoy the rest of your life at that moment type of crowd. Or you have the other crowd that is like, hey, I want to take my time, energy, skill, and all that stuff like that. I can sell it in the short term. I don't mind, because that's a part of learning and becoming yourself. You got to learn through experience, but then also diving in deeper and figuring out, hey, what's unique about what I can offer directly to where I can be the distributor. I can produce it. I can think it, create it, produce it, distribute it, and get it out myself at some capacity. And of course, everything starts off small. A seed starts off small. When it buds, it's of no use to nobody. It takes time to cultivate, to grow, let the Lord water it, put some sun on it and all that good stuff like that. And then in time, the fruit comes. But right now, people, it's time to be fruitful. I hope this was a blessing to you. Ultimately, I'm going to leave you with this. Now is the time to focus on that. What else can I do? What else can I contribute? What else can I put out there? What else, who else can I serve? What's my value added proposition? How can I produce something that somebody else can enjoy, type of approach. And with that, be ye fruitful. Find your seed and sow it, because your ultimate fulfillment comes through you becoming who and what God has created you to become. And if you don't become that, you will never experience God's best for your life. I do genuinely believe that. And hey, once again, I appreciate you for taking time to join me behind the microphone. If you're new, click the subscribe button. If you're on the podcast audio version side, definitely subscribe and join the community there. There's more to come. There's more in my spirit that I can share. And so definitely I want you to be along with this ride with us, because it will be fun. And of course, the end goal of all this is that we can help more people wake up to the reality that they are a business. Why not become a giftpreneur? Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in. See you later.